evening and welcome to Gain TV Plus. Today, an important conversation on a very important subject matter. Okay, today there was a group of, you know, um, African United. That's the name of the group, African United. So there was a big rally today in D.C., Washington D.C., for no war in Niger. That was the name of the rally. No war in Niger. So we will watch some of the video, one video that we uh, put together for you to see exactly what was going on. And after that, we will invite one of the speaker to that rally, probably one of the major men that was there to make a statement why the war in Niger is a bad proposition. It's a bad thing for many reasons. But you know, we're not gonna be. I'm gonna now gonna make all the statements. The man is with us in the studio. We're gonna play the video to just give you some kind of synopsis of what was going on today in Washington D.C. in the front of the French embassy. Just the images.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today for Niger. Our brothers and sisters are in Niger. They are standing in front of the bullet. They said no to France, and we are here today to say no to France. France must get out of Niger. And today in Niger, they have put a sanction on our people. The women are dying in the hospital, giving birth to children, all because of France. ECOWAS, you are the evil brothers and sisters that we have in the continent. You are joining France to kill our people. We are saying no to ECOWAS. If you keep killing our people, there is no peace with the ECOWAS head of states. We will make sure that each of you get out of power. ECOWAS is destroying the continent. They are working for the colonial masters. We see you, Tinubu in Nigeria. You stole the election, and now you're trying to cover up by taking war into Niger. We are calling upon the United States. You are the big brother to France. Get out of Niger. Take your drone factory out of our continent. We say no to the United States. We say no to the United States. We say no to the United States. Joe Biden, you need to take your drone farm out of Niger. We say no to Joe Biden. We are calling on Blinken. Blinken, stop crying. Blinken, stop crying for Bazoum. Yes. Bazoum is not our president. We are with the military. We stand with our military. We salute the military in Niger. Yes. So we are calling upon everybody around the world to stand with the people of Niger. Yes. We salute the military of Niger. Yes. So therefore, we thank each and everyone that come here today to stand with the Nigerian people. We salute you and peace in Niger.
Give it up for Dr. Fatou. Georgette from... Oh, okay, Georgette doesn't want to go. Next, we'll be hearing from the friends from the Congo, our friend Paul Humphrey. Rafiki Yetu, Paul Humphrey, where are you? All right, Paul is not close. Okay, he's running. Run along, young man. Come on. 2 minutes.
2 and 3 minutes.
2 minutes. Let's see if I can keep it down to 2 minutes. First of all, I'd like to say I'm bringing you greetings from the country of Guinea. I just left there yesterday. And the people's struggle in Guinea is very similar to the struggle in Niger. And the people's struggle in Guinea is very similar to the people's struggle in Niger. And that is, they want justice, they want peace, and want the ability to develop and not be robbed by their former colonial powers. And so, again, I want to say, I take my hat off to the people of Niger. I take my hat off to the people of Mali, the people of Guinea, the people who have said enough is enough. And we all should be saying enough is enough. It's time for Africa to move forward.
Time for Africa to move forward.
And the role for people here in the United States is for us to give support to the people of Africa. And I would like to even go a little bit further and explain one of my reasons for being in Guinea. The main reason this time I was in Guinea. I had been in Guinea a few times before, and I had developed relationships with the progressive movements in Guinea. But a friend of mine has a company that makes an organic agriculture product that will help the farmers of Guinea to become self-sufficient in producing all the food that Guinea needs, and they will not have to import any more food. And so our purpose there was to meet with the farmers out in the countryside, and I can tell you that's a long ride from Conakry. We were almost in Mali. But I was saying that ride, one of the things I noticed was that road, which people had told me about before, how bad that road was. The new government of Guinea, since they've taken power, have paved that road 80%. And so the trip from Conakry to the countryside was much faster, much safer, because of the change of government in Guinea. And that's just one good example of what's going on with the changes in Africa today. And so I see my role as an African American doing my part of giving support to the progressive changes of Africa. And we're not only looking at helping Guinea to become self-sufficient with their food, but helping Mali, helping Burkina Faso, helping all the different countries in West Africa and beyond, in Niger, so that they no longer have to buy food from Europe. One of the most insulting things I found was when they had the audacity, the news reporters say, well, this war in Ukraine is going to cause an end, of being able to export food to Africa, and Africa's going to starve because Ukraine can't sell them their food. Well, let's think about that. Ukraine only has 5 months a year it can grow food. West Africa can grow food year-round. Why should a country that can only grow food for 5 years be able to have to feed a country that can grow food year-round? And the only answer to that is imperialism. And that's why imperialism must be brought to an end. And that's why it's so important for us to stand up here today and tell countries like France, no more. No more. Get the hell out. Get the hell out. Freedom and justice for Africa. Thank you. Was that 2 minutes?
We need freedom for Niger and Africa. And my name is Arshad.
Thank you, Arshad. Thank you very much, Arshad.
Thank you for our son, Arshad. Thank you so much.
All right, next, can we hear from our brother, Sean Blackman, from the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Sean Blackman. I know he wasn't prepared, so we don't want to ambush you, but it's that kind of a party.
Thank you, brother. All right, how y'all feeling? Let me hear you say, hands off Africa. Hands off Africa. France out of Africa. France out of Africa. Shut down AFRICOM. Shut down Africa. Let me hear you make some noise if you're for the total liberation of the African continent. Friends, my name is Sean Blackman. I'm here representing the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and it's very important that you and I understand that we are living through a historical moment. What we're seeing happening with our people in the Sahel is a part of centuries of neo-colonial exploitation and imperialist intervention. For centuries, Africa has had its democracy violated, its sovereignty violated, its right to self-determination violated. They've stolen resources. They even stole people. That's how my ancestors got to this country. They didn't ask. They were kidnapped and forced to build this country for free, and they're still exploiting us and oppressing us centuries after the fact. And you know, it is so hypocritical for these puppets, these foot-shuffling black mouthpieces at ECOWAS and the US and France to talk about democracy. We got to bring democracy back to Niger, is what they say. You want to talk about democracy? Cool. Let's talk about Julius Bio in Sierra Leone. His election was so messed up that the US, the UK, France, and the European Union questioned the election results. You know how bad you got to be a pro-Western African leader and the whole West question your election? You want to talk about democracy? Let's talk about Alassane Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire. This is someone who violated his country's own term limits, forced himself into a third term as president against the will of the people of that country. You want to talk about democracy? Let's talk about Macky Sall in Senegal, who have made illegal the opposition parties in that country. Ain't nothing democratic about that. You want to talk about democracy? Let's talk about Mohamed Bazoum of Niger. When he was first made president, one of the first things he did was cut the internet for 10 days and brutally crush the protest of the people in the country who dared to question the results. There's nothing democratic about that. But we see that the imperialists and their puppets on the African continent, they only care about so-called democracy when their puppets are attacked. They don't care about democracy when the people want to express their will. They don't care how much these so-called leaders steal from the people. They don't care how much they kill the people. They don't care how much they line their pockets, as long as they're acting in the interests of the former colonial powers and the imperial powers. And you know, just the other day, I was reading a statement from the West African People's Organization. I encourage you to look it up. And the West African People's Organization described Mohamed Bazoum of Niger as a notorious house Negro. They chose that language on purpose. And that phrase, house Negro, that comes from the black liberation struggle in this country. Because what is a house Negro? A house Negro is an African who cares more about his European masters and who cares more about lining his pockets and who cares more about power than they do the conditions and the desires of their own people. So we have to stand in solidarity with the people of Niger, the people of Mali, the people of Burkina Faso, the people of Guinea, the people of Gabon, and all freedom-loving people across this earth who are fighting back against exploitation and imperialist aggression. And you know, there once was a great African. His name, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Dr. King spoke about how we are all bound in a single garment of destiny, which means that no matter where we are on this earth, we are bound together in a struggle against white supremacy, a struggle against war, a struggle against oppression and exploitation, a struggle against each and everything that stands against the interest of humanity. So what that means is, whether we're talking about the Sahel, whether we're talking about the whole African continent, whether we're talking about Haiti, whether we're talking about Palestine, anywhere that people are struggling on this earth, we must be in solidarity with them to build a movement that can bring down this vicious, racist, imperialist system once and for all. Now, my friends, I want to thank you so much for having me. My name is Sean Blackman of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Peace if you're willing to fight for it, and let your motto be resistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Sean. Thank you. So, Africa united will never be defeated. 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 Next, we have our brother Hassim Abdullahi from Niger, and he's going to speak in Hausa. Thank you.
Salamu alaikum ‘yan uwa masu albarka da Allah ku yi mana haƙuri waɗanda ba su jin Hausa. Zan aika mesaji ne saboda inda duk ake jin Hausa a duniya a jiya. Sunana Hashima Abdullahi Bagobiri mai waɗinta ko ba daɗi amma gaskiya. Na farko Faransi duk inda Hausawa suke masu jin Hausa ko mutum ko bature mai jin Hausa ga munan bakin inda ake kulla muna huce ambasadakin Faransa. Ga muna inda uwanmu na hukai ta duniya ambasadakin Faransa a Washington DC. ‘Yan Nijar ‘yan uwanmu muna ganin kun kwana can kun ini can wata guda ba ku kwanta ba. Yau na kwarai a ce wani su wani sun mutu.
Thank you for having us. As Palestinian and Arab youth dedicated to the liberation of our people, we stand side by side with you here as we declare our undying support for the African masses as they fight back against colonial domination, as our people in Palestine and the Arab world confront their colonial oppressors by any means necessary to secure a future of dignity and integrity. We are heartened, elated, and truly empowered by the strength seen here today and by the courage of the African masses seen on display on the continent. We are reminded of past revolutionaries from Nasser to Sankara. The list is endless, truly. And we take their lessons to heart, and that is why we are here today. We look forward truly to building with you all, as it is on us in the diaspora to build an international anti-colonial united front to fight in coordination with our masses back home, right here in the belly of the deadliest beast the world has ever known. Our enemies are united against us. Whether in Israel, France, or here in the US, they are united against us, all of us. And they have expended endless efforts to keep us divided. They have used sect, religion, ethnicity, race, language, culture, tribes, clans, and these fake borders to make sure we do not unite. Because they know only unity can defeat those beasts. So let us recognize our historic task to unite as wretched of the earth throughout the globe, as siblings and comrades in struggle against our common enemy, imperialism and colonialism. Palestine for Palestinians, Africa for Africans, and we are no longer asking the settlers and colonizers to go home. Now is the time to send them home ourselves. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Brother Mohammed. So next we have our brother Baki from Niger and two other brothers. They're going to stand and speak together, 1 minute each. Yes. Here. Huh? What is your name?
I'm from New York and Chad, of course. If your senators, if your congressmen do not respect the wishes of the people, do not vote for anybody that support African dictators, if they have funds sent to Africa, make sure that it doesn't benefit the dictators. So we need to organize ourselves from voting, from the congressmen to the local legislations to the election next year. If Joe Biden's policies continue to support African dictators, are we going to vote for Joe Biden? No! Are we going to vote for Joe Biden? No! So I want our dear police officers here to understand. Bring the message to Joe Biden. If Joe Biden continues to support
African dictators, we will not vote for Joe Biden. Enough is.
All right. Listen, we're back here. We're back here with my brother, Rakifi Maurice. Welcome to the show, my brother. Welcome to the show. Welcome to GEM
Uh,
TV. This is Talk to
thank
Me.
you for thank you for having us, and we're delighted to be here and report on the ongoing struggle against the imperialism that's taking place in Niger.
Absolutely, absolutely. We also are joined by our sister Jacqueline Lookman, who is actually she not able to be on the video, but she is in the studio with us. She is listening to us. I want to say tell her welcome to the show. Welcome to Talk to Me, sister Jacqueline.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate being in this space with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I also know my brother Ali Abu is in the studio. Ali, if you listen to us, I want to welcome you to talk to me on Gain TV. Are you there?
Yeah, hello?
Yes. Can you hear us? All right. Ali, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
I
So first of all, I want to welcome you. I know you probably in the area. It's all dark outside. I don't know where you are
yeah,
exactly. I just wanted to welcome you to the Talk to Me. This is Talk to Me on Gen TV.
thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it and thanks for the invite.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Very good. Now listen up, guys. You all have a chance to you all have a chance to listen, to watch those images, kind of remind you about today rally, and brother Rafiki, you are a veteran when it comes to social justice. Your name, you don't have to introduce yourself to me because I see your body of work. So let me ask you this very quick: are you in the DC, DMV, DC area?
Yes, yes, I'm in
Absolutely.
DC.
So what do you think is the kind of experience that we have when you go over there and the assembly of African across their across countries, across their, I mean, the diaspora. That's the term they use to just describe all of us, those who are born on the continent or those who are born outside the continent. So tell us a little bit about your struggle. I mean, how you get involved in the social justice struggle.
Oh well, I joined the Pan Africanist movement as a young man, at the age of 17. Actually, a history teacher introduced me to Malcolm X, and Malcolm X introduced me to the movement. Um, I've been a member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party since 1974. So we've been fighting, I've been fighting all my life, this struggle in Niger, which presents itself as a, a dynamic moment in history, is really the result of centuries of struggle by our people, not only in Niger, but all over the world. And this is the struggle that my party is engaged in. We want to see Africa united. We want to see Africa liberated. And we want to see a new economic system in Africa that is not this capitalist, imperialist, blood sucking, exploiting system that is really devastating our people all over the world. We're going through the same thing everywhere. Um, and so we have to fight, and we're going to continue to fight until we are victorious. And we are absolutely sure we will be victorious because the masses of the people are on our side, history is on our side, and we have the courage and the strength to stand up to any enemy, and they think that they can continue these games with us, but we're not playing games anymore. And so we want these French out of Africa. We want these USA out of Africa. We want the drones out of Niger. We want the CIA bases out of Niger. We want Africa for Africans. And that's the nature of the struggle that we've been engaged in, that I've been engaged in. And that is why we joined in this struggle today. And I would like to say one other thing, we're here talking about the demonstration, but that demonstration that took place in front of the French embassy today is more than a demonstration. It is a movement. 3 weeks ago, that organization, that group of people had not come together. They came together in the face of an impending imperialist attack using Nigeria to attack Niger. And these Africans in the United States said enough is enough. And they began to come together and organize. This is our second demonstration. There will be others. And we're building a movement that connects with the struggle of the people on the continent. So it's more than a demonstration. It's the beginning of the end of France in Africa, and of US in Africa, and of NATO in Africa, and of AFRICOM in Africa. So we're just delighted, actually, to be a part of bringing this imperialism in Africa to an end.
Wow. I mean, thank you so much for that. I think the same question, is that I'm going to ask to my sister Jacqueline about today's experience, because unfortunately we're not able to play all the speeches so that we don't keep people here longer. But the I can see the energy, and especially when Sister Jacqueline came, when she took the microphone, you can see the energy, you can see the message, just like Brother Rafiki said, this is calling on Africa globally to join forces with and to combat the injustice that going on for so long now on the continent, but also here in the United States, because she said, and she can correct me on this, that the struggle is the same. Actually, let make no mistake that the same struggle that is going on in Africa is the same kind of struggle that an African born in America still go through. So, Sister Jacqueline, kind of take us back into this earlier today demonstration rally. First of
Yeah.
all, what make you join this movement of liberation?
I came through to the Pan-Africanist anti-imperialist struggle through my faith. Actually, I'm a Christian, and in the United States, Christianity is a very different thing. And I'm not sure what it looks like around the world. I've seen a little bit of liberation theology, revolutionary Christianity in other places, but that it doesn't exist that way here in the mainstream. So being a person of African descent, being born into a family that was not poor, that lived in, or that was not rich, rather, that lived in a poor neighborhood. And I learned through my own family's history that my mother integrated her high school in our small town that we are from in Virginia. I began to learn about the history of the struggle against white supremacy and racist oppression in this country. And then I began to really wonder why my faith, the churches I belong to, the pastors I listen to, why they never talked about the way we are still oppressed in this country. Black people, particularly poor Black people, but all Black people. And I began to get disillusioned, not with my faith, because I began to read my Bible myself. And I found out that, guess what? God is very concerned about oppressed people. And he does not like it when people are oppressed. And he does not like for people to hoard money and to oppress the poor in particular. And I wondered why I was not hearing these messages in the churches I belonged to when I read them in the Bible. So I found liberation theology through that. It was not something that was being taught in a lot of mainstream churches, and it still is not. There was a
So
time in
what make Sister Jacqueline, not to cut
yes,
you off, I
no,
don't
no.
want to be rude. Tell me a little bit what specifically, because most people connected right now, they don't know what is liberation theology is, and
Liberation, yes, yes. Liberation theology is quite simply, excuse me, the examination of the Bible and particularly the teachings of Jesus Christ that highlight how God and Christ are on the side of the oppressed, that Jesus came not to save us from hell, but to save us from oppression, to liberate the oppressed. And
right,
when you look at the example of Jesus, that's clear. But we don't get that in mainstream churches, black or white, particularly now with the rise of white Christian nationalism in this country. But that's how I came through. That's how I came to Pan Africanism and anti imperialism and anti capitalism. And then I married my husband in 2013, and we joined the Black Alliance for Peace not too many years after that. So I was actively engaged in an organization that is focused on the struggle for the liberation of African people and working class and poor and oppressed people around the world. So that's how I came to this movement in a nutshell. And today I've been feeling like we are witnessing a very important historical moment with all of these military transitions in West Africa.
right,
As they have progressed, it has felt, and I hadn't been able to put my finger on it until very recently, but it does feel like a shift in the history of the relationship between Africa and its former colonizers and the former colonizers' imperial master, the United States. And at the same time, there seems to be a growing shift in there seems to be a greater discontentment among more African descended people here in the US toward our oppression in this country. So these things are happening at the same time, I think, and they may be advancing at different speeds or at different levels of intensity. I will admit that we don't have the kind of mobilization in this country of our people that we see in Niamey today at the
right.
base. But the what we call the contradictions, the things in this society, in this country, that the government tells us are true, that this society is equal, it's just, and everyone has a chance, and no one is above the law, and there is no racism and all of that kind of stuff. Well, the contradiction is every day we see many examples of that absolutely not being true. The police shoot black people down in the street almost daily, black and
Right.
brown people, indigenous people, and they are rarely, if ever, held accountable. Uh, Significant portions of our populations, African descended people, indigenous people, First Nations, Native Hawaiian people, a significant portion of our people live in poverty that is manufactured by this government through the exploitation of our labor and the suppression of decent wages for working people. Education systems for our people are poor. We don't know our history because we're not taught our history in public schools, and they don't want us ever to learn the actual history of oppression in this country. And the police in our communities are absolutely militarized. They receive equipment from the Department of Defense through the 1033 program. And now, as we see in Atlanta, with the proposed construction of this Cop City, which is a massive training facility for basically urban warfare that the police want to build, They're now proposing to build the same kind of facility in Baltimore, and we can expect more of these kind of facilities to be in discussions in other places across this country. So when we look at what's going on in Niger and in Mali and in Burkina Faso, and in Gabon and everywhere in the continent where people are rising up against imperialism, we see very clearly, if we examine what the people are struggling against in those countries, we see very clearly that we are struggling against the exact same thing in this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in Niger today, some of the speakers were talking about the comprador leaders, the Pan-Africanists in blackface, and the puppets of imperialism, who are the African leaders who have been deposed. Well, we have the same thing in this country. It's the Congressional Black Caucus.
You think so?
It's absolutely true. It is that they are the same class of people. They serve the same function to pacify the people, to continue to support a system that oppresses them. That's their role. Their role is not to challenge the people in the building in your
What the status
background.
was to challenge the status quo. Your
No,
last comment, I'm gonna pass it to Ali. It's been a wedding. We know we're gonna be coming back to you. So
yes, yes.
much,
Sorry
so
about
much
that.
to talk about, Sister Jacqueline. And you're probably gonna be a friend of this show, because we know we have to squeeze every words out of your dictionary
Oh
and
gosh.
knowledge about. Go ahead and conclude so that I can let Brother Ali say something, and then we'll go back to Rafiki and back to you.
No, just today, I believe was us participating, not just witnessing history this time, but participating in a historical moment, and it was absolutely beautiful to be a part of.
It was beautiful to see all of you guys. I'm telling you, you mentioned Gabon. Luckily for the people of Gabon, one of the men, the strong man, so-called strong man, was deposed just last week. The French people were quick to condemn the coup. Talking about democracy when they actually only want democracy for their own countries, the European. But when it comes to us, these dictators can stay in power as long as they can, they want, as long as they protect their oppressor, always the colonizers' interest. So let me go back to my brother Ali. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. We're gonna come back to you in a minute. I wanna hear from brother Ali, who happened to be one of the speakers today at the rally. So you are born on the continent. You probably experienced some of the suffering on the continent. Can you quickly tell us what the rally today means to you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Malik, and thanks also to all of you being here, Rafiki, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for having me on this plateau. Yes, Mr. Malik, like you said, for us coming from this part of the world, which is called Niger, we have seen serious things like this going that we did not thought at all it would be a day like the 26th of last month. Out of nowhere, uh, things start showing up to the point where some people would take it thinking that it's just a blessing. It's just a blessing. I can take it all the way to here in the US where we are right now. We would think is a blessing. What I saw today, you, Mr. Malik, Sister Jacqueline, Brother Rafiki, all in one. We have it been met some Caucasian there fighting for us. So like you said, from where I come from, being born in that part of the world, this is like a dream come true. You know, Sister Jacqueline was talking about it. I think is a hurricane. Is a hurricane coming in Africa. I don't think there is anything that can stop it right now. But to hide politics, even politics need to hide, you know. Some countries are using diplomacy to kind of deal right now with Niger. Some countries are not trying. Countries like France is not trying, but it's only a matter of time. With what happened the same this week in Gabon, is also another wake up call that they should see and kind of like think of what is the next way to deal with the new generation, because this thing is non-stop. I was amazed when the same thing happened in the Gabon. We were in the backstage trying to organize what you guys participate today. Right away in the group, small group of the organization, they already start being excited, trying to tell France to get out of the Gabon. We didn't even wait for the Gabon people themselves to say that they want us at today's rally to say that French need to get out. It becomes automatic. I was just kind of like, wow. It's like nobody can stop this thing. You understand? We didn't even wait to know what the coup in Gabon was, the purpose of it. We didn't wait for that. But the same, like I said again, the same hurricane is really burning. I don't see any stop to this. I think the entire world, you know, the developed country, the developed diplomacy, gonna have to start doing with this. Africa is going in a different direction. It's a wake up call for us right now. So again, to join what you just highlighted from where I come from, we did not thought even after 50, 60 years, we will be where we are today, not because of the time, because there is nothing that time cannot change, but because of the way things are coming. I cannot state it enough after what Brother Rafiki said, after what Sister Jacqueline said. They have seen it all. All I can say is just like, again, it's a wake up call right now. And yeah, it's going, who knows who's next? We are waiting. Nobody will be surprised if next month another country again into this French colony start also, you know, demanding their freedom.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I can keep talking the whole night. This is
Absolutely. I know that
so much, Brother Malik.
I know that to be true. I know that to be true, Brother Ali. I thank again for being here. I think you know, now we have the technology, the ways to make our voice heard, and we have to make a good use of it. And I know my brother Rakifi will agree with me that you know, there was no going back. He said in court, you know, we will fight until you know, the wheel falls off, and until
Yeah.
free, you know. So brother Rafiki, and thank you again for your patience. You know, this struggle, yeah, and you're a little bit older than us. You've seen people thinking that, you know, this won't be possible, you know. In the recent months and probably weeks, you know, you've seen what unfolded in Gabon, you know, and that was a French stronghold. You know, that's what was that's one of the pat when they eat. You know, when you see the leader going down and almost begging the entire universe to you know, come to his rescue, and nobody say nothing. And what kind of hope I give you when it comes to you know, this struggle, universal struggle, you know, international struggle for white black people.
Well, we look at the development of our people's struggle, and we look at the trends that emerge in our people's struggle, and we are very encouraged. Um, what people may not realize is that the masses of the people in Mali have been in the streets demanding the French to leave Mali for almost a year now. The coup came at the end of the mass uprising. And it's the mass uprising that gives us hope and encouragement. Because our people everywhere, we have two things, two tools, two weapons, and that is our bodies and our minds. And so when you see the masses of our people come together collectively of one mind as one body to oppose the French in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Guinea, in Niger, in Gabon, we are full of hope. I mean, we have an opportunity now to do in the next 6 weeks what we haven't been able to do in 500 years, and that's get the French out of Africa. This is a major victory for the movement to get the French out of Africa. And we think that this is going to result in getting the French out of Africa, no matter what ECOWAS does. If ECOWAS goes across that border into Niger, I happen to believe the French are going to leave Africa faster than if they don't. But whether they go or whether they don't go, the masses of the people have decided that the French must go, and the moving of the French out of the African continent turns the focus and the gaze of our people onto the masters of the French, which are the Americans. So if we get the French out, I believe very firmly that the Americans are coming out right behind them. So we have to understand this thing properly. It's not just French troops in Niger. It's American troops in Niger. It's Canadian troops in Niger. It's Italian troops in Niger. It's drone bases in Niger. And
So
it's the
what Niger?
CIA.
But tell me, and sorry to cut you off, the interest, because people have to understand all of this, military might in one country that they call poor country. They say Niger,
Yeah.
one of the French president, I don't want to mention his name here because for me, I don't have respect for these kind of leaders. He called Niger a poor country. But at the
It's
same
poor.
time, we've seen the French completely refusing living in Niger. When the people say, you know what, okay, we're poor, you have no business staying here, so get out of our country. But the president said, no, we cannot live. So my sister was talking about the contradiction, the lies.
Yeah.
How can you explain all of this military might, military power in Niger? What they're doing over there?
They Niger is I think the third or fourth largest producer of uranium in the world. One in every three French light bulbs is powered by uranium from Niger. They're stealing the uranium. Niger produces gold. They're stealing the gold. Niger produces foodstuffs. They're stealing the foodstuffs. So they're stealing the resources of Niger in order to develop Europe and underdevelop Africa. This is the process that they engage in all of the time. Their purpose, the uranium belt in Niger is in an area called the Sahel, which crosses not only Niger, but almost 10 countries across Africa from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea. And all of the US's and the French and NATO's military might is poised in that area because that area contains up to 25% of all the resources and minerals in the African continent. So they're staying in these places in order to continue to rob us of our resources and to make sure that our development does not take place in a way that suits the interests of our people. This is an old story in a new package, and we need to understand it. We get confused sometimes because it's exciting right now because we're getting the French out. But we got to understand that the French as Jackie says, are the junior partners of the US. They're the French, NATO, EU. This is all one big gang. And that gang plays us against each other. So when the French can't do it, they'll back up because the Americans can do it. And when the Americans can't get the French or somebody else to do their bidding, they'll get NATO to do it. It was NATO that killed Gaddafi. NATO is also in Niger. So we have to understand that we're fighting against a system that's unified and take from that an understanding that in order to defeat this system, we too must be unified. And
Absolutely.
the last point about that is that unity is not an idea or a feeling or some
Mm,
feel good kind of thing you do, skipping down the street singing a love song. Unity is a conscious act of an organized people. In
absolutely.
order to unite, we must organize. We will organize to unite, and we unite to defeat the system. So if we can
Absolutely.
continue this mass movement and get those masses organized, get those masses coming together, unite the masses.
We're having some connection difficulties here. We will move to Sister Jacqueline. While we are waiting for Rafiki to come back, I think he has some connection issues here. So, Sister Jacqueline, you mentioned contradiction when you were talking about. I have to take you a little bit back. I love when you talk about when you mention liberation theology and you talk about the contradiction. And I suspect part of that contradiction is the Bible telling you you have to love your oppressor. But we don't hear much about what the oppressor have to do toward the one he has enslaved. So that confusion, religious confusion, tell us a little bit, how can we African people use liberation theology to move forward. And when I say move forward, understanding the issues. So when you see now more people are awake, understand that, hey, listen, what's going on here, the police brutality that's going here in America is no different from, French brutality of our people, and they do it maybe in a very different way, looting our natural resources, keeping the people that continue to destroy their countries. That's the way they do it, and creating an environment of suffering. So you know, go back to that liberation theology and just open up the can of worms so that we can all hear what is going on on this planet here in America and across the continent of Africa. Sister Jacqueline here. Uh, what about Ali? Are you here? Can you hear me, brother Ali? Jacqueline? Okay, so I guess we probably have to play a clip. See here, let me just check real quick what's going on here. Speaking, can you hear me? No, I cannot hear you, Jacqueline. I don't know what's going on with your microphone. I can see that. And Ali, can you say something? I can hear you. Listen, I'm gonna call you on the phone. In the meantime, let me play some highlights of today's meeting.
Okay, he's running. Run along, young man. Come on. 2 minutes.
2 and 3 minutes.
2 minutes. Let's see if I can keep it down to 2 minutes.
Okay, brother Rafiki, you're back here.
I'm back.
It looks like
Yeah.
you were having some difficulties with your connection, but the devil is a liar. We have to keep
Yes,
on.
he is. And he never rests.
So we're also having some trouble with Sister Jacqueline. She probably will log in back into the studio. Ali, I don't know what's going on with your microphone. You need to check it out with that. So go ahead quickly, Rafiki. Conclude your idea, and then I will go. I think Sister Jacqueline is back here. Jackie's back in the studio. I don't know. Did you finish your say
No,
or
no.
go ahead?
My last point was that unity presupposes organization.
Right.
People don't unite spontaneously. People don't unite by accident. People
Right.
don't stumble into unity. Unity is the conscious result of the people organizing themselves to pursue their interests. So when we call on our people to unite, we're really calling on them to organize themselves. And then once they organize themselves to connect with others who are organized, and then that way build unity. It's not a feeling we're looking for. We're looking for a concrete structure that links us together with a common struggle against a common enemy. And this is the nature of what is happening here today. That rally today had Africans from almost every country in West Africa. You had the Eritreans were out there. There was at least one Nigerian out there.
Yeah.
Niger was out there.
I also made
Gabon,
the Asian. I also did the
Asian,
Asian.
Senegalese, um, Africans from all over the place.
Yeah.
Africans
But
from
but
the
what,
United States.
brother Rafiki? Okay, what do you
Yeah.
think about the our brother and sister from Palestine? Can we also? I know a lot of Pan Africanists. They think Africa have to be liberated first before we think about other people. But at
Oh
the same
no,
time, if you think of a Martin Luther King, philosophy was that all people who suffer have to
that's right.
combine the
That's
forces
right.
to fight the same oppression. So when you see like those precious brothers and sisters from Palestine, joining forces with African to make sure that we understand their suffering and tie up the fact that we all go through the same situation.
It's
What's
this.
that
It's
make
this.
you?
It's
Yeah,
the same fight. The Palestinians are fighting capitalism and imperialism in the form of Zionism.
right,
That's a settler colony in the South in what they call the Middle East. It's a
right,
settler colony where Europeans left Europe and stole the land from the Palestinians. It's a just struggle, and we have to support them just as they support us. While we was in the rally today, I also received a phone call from our Native American brothers. Uh, our particular brother, he's ill. He couldn't get out of his bed, but he wanted to let us know that the struggle that we're waging for our land in Niger is tied to the struggle of the American Indians, the Native Americans in this country, because you're fighting against the same enemy.
right,
It's even people in Europe, in Ireland. People don't understand. They colonized Ireland before they colonized Africa. They
right.
practiced colonialism in Ireland before they came and brought it to Africa. So these struggles are linked together. They're all the same or different fronts,
Hmm.
different front lines of the same of a worldwide battlefield. And
Absolutely.
everywhere that people are coming together to fight against this devil, this evil system, is a front line in the struggle of our people. And
Absolutely.
our struggle is a front line in their liberation. I just spent some time in Nicaragua,
Mm.
and there's a place in Nicaragua where it's Africans called
Wow.
Bluefields. And it's autonomous. It's a liberated zone inside of Nicaragua that's controlled by the Africans there. And they're concerned about what's happening in this year. They're concerned about what's happening in Haiti. They're concerned about what's happening in Washington, D.C., or the streets of this city, the black people. because they understand that whatever affects one African affects all Africans. And Dr. King said it most eloquently. He said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we know this to be true. So as long as there's injustice in the world, we have to keep fighting, because all of humanity needs to be free from this beast. It ain't just oppressing and exploiting Africans. It's oppressing and exploiting the whole world. They make $1 from every human action.
Right. But before I pass this I pass to I go to Sister Jacqueline. It is so sad that when even in this country where imperial power and I suspect Martin Luther King was trying to explain to our white brother and sister, poor white brothers and sisters, that were tricked into this game. They were tricked to believe that the
That's right.
color of the skin was actually something that shared the values of capitalists that actually rule this world, and ruthless people that don't care about how you look. So
That's right.
it is kind of a sad that more often our precious brother Europeans, poor European that suffer, usually refused or blindsided by the fact that they don't know that this is a struggle that they have to embrace, because they're now they're not set aside when it comes to the ruthless of capitalism. What can you
But
say about that before I go to Sister Jacqueline?
okay, well, I might get myself in a little bit of trouble here, but I have what I call my favorite white people,
Yeah,
because not all of them have been tricked by this thing.
right.
Some of them have always known how evil this system was. And I have a litmus test for white folks, because I believe they should do like John Brown
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
organize other white folks to fight against capitalism.
God bless
And
that brother.
and we know white folks like that. The day before the demonstration, the first demonstration against the French embassy, organized by Africa United, there was another demonstration, and we marched from the Kenyan embassy to the Jamaican embassy.
Mm.
And we put out a call, largely to our white friends, and said, we think we need to go to jail today,
Yeah,
to make them know that we're serious. And we need at least 10 of our white brothers and sisters to come out with us and be prepared to go to jail.
right.
And 11 of them showed up.
Wow.
11 of them showed up. And we didn't go to jail today, but they was ready to go to jail.
Wow.
The same thing happened today. Our white
Absolutely.
friends,
Yeah,
our
I mean
white
they were
comrades,
they were
they
they
were
were
there.
absolutely present. They were there.
They were
They was there.
there, they were present, they
Yeah,
understand, they spoke about solidarity, they
yeah,
understand their role in this struggle. So we can't always get taken in by what we see on CBS, ABC, NBC, and MSNBC and CNN, because
right.
they lied to us all the time.
Absolutely.
Poor white folks in the United States are catching hell. And some of them have sense enough to know that we're not the cause of their problem. And we
Absolutely.
unite with those folks because they're fighting for the same peace. They're fighting to end the same war that we're fighting for. Now, we don't go with all of the white folks because some of them have backward things in their mind. Like you said, they're confused.
Yeah,
But the revolution always looks for the most conscious elements
right.
and tries to bring the conscious elements together so that they can organize themselves to make the unconscious elements conscious.
Conscience.
And that's the task before these white folks, these John Brown white folks, the ones I like, that's their job to make them unconscious white folks conscious. And that's also our job to make the unconscious
Mm.
Africans
Yeah,
conscious, make them aware. And once they become aware and once they get organized, then we can unite and put pressure on our enemy, which is what we saw today.
absolutely, absolutely, my brother, absolutely. Listen, Sister Jacqueline, she's a warrior, and thank you for being patient. Tell us, do I even remember the last question I asked you? I don't know if you were willing to answer that question because you don't start me when you started talking about the, liberation theology.
Uh-huh.
My ears goes up like this. Okay, I want to hear more about the trickery when it comes to that philosophy where you have to love your oppressor when
Hmm.
oppressor is oppressing you. And so the Bible say that, yeah. So we have to respect. So take on that, my sister.
Well, we have to remember, for people who do not understand, that the Western canon of the Bible is a bunch of translations of some translations of some translations of some translations of original texts that were so outdated that some of the words didn't have meaning anymore. So some parts of it were made up. Some
Right,
parts, some words were, they use context clues for incomplete sentences, and quite frankly, some of the people who translated the translations of the translations were themselves oppressors. So the modern canon that we have, the Bible in the West, because we also don't understand that uh, other countries, other religions, other faiths have different iterations of the Bible. The Catholic Bible has books in it that the Protestant Bible does not. The
right,
Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible in the world. It has more books in it than both of those canons, the Catholic and the Protestant Bible. So that there's a lot that has been left out of the account of the journey of, I guess it you would call it, the Christian faith. But make no mistake that a lot of these scriptures in the Bible that tell oppressed people, enslaved people to obey their masters, that comes from oppressors who translated translations of translations. So when you actually read the Bible, it is very clear to see the parts of the Bible that are obviously pro-imperialist, because they're very focused on discipline and and order and obeying. And then there are the words and the actions of Jesus, which are all flying in the face of the status quo, doing the exact opposite of what society at the time said that you do in regard to women, in regard to sick people, in regard to poor people. So then, as a person of faith and as a person who has this just kind of innate abhorrence to injustice, and I think I recognized that about myself at an early age. uh, Even when I was in high school, I can't stand injustice. I don't like it when people are being treated unjustly, and I could never stand by and allow it to happen. I always had to speak up. So as I matured in my faith, I began to read my Bible and study the history of the Bible. I really began to realize, oh, there's some of this stuff I'm just not going to pay attention to.
right,
There's some of this stuff that just does not, it flies in the face of everything else that a just God is supposed to be. So the rest of this stuff, turning the other cheek and obeying your master and all of this, yeah, I'm not paying any attention to that, because
right,
what I do know, the same book also says that the rich should not hoard their wealth and oppress the poor, and that they will be judged harshly if they do, that people should be paid a fair wage for their work, and they should be paid on time, that the poor should not be exploited or oppressed, and that a God will judge those and he condemns those who do oppress the poor. So this is the liberation theology that is literally in the book, that we are not preached, that we are not preached in church, that we are not taught in Bible study. But if we are serious minded people of faith, we have to be honest with our spiritual text and admit that even it is a product of imperialist domination. And we have to do the work to quite literally decolonize our
Mm,
faith.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Listen, the brother Rafiki, I know you can agree more with our sister. You know, I wanted to take you back into a very important business here. Um, you said something very profound. Um, you said when the the European, the French, that happen to be little brother for America, when they cannot do business, of eventually they will call on America, and America using his hands called NATO, to when the military forces needed to go and destroy, you know, whether Libya or whatever place it is, to make sure that nobody can stand over there to liberate anybody. But I just want to speak on this recent so-called coup d'etat that happened to be completely different. Take one country to another. When we have the liberation war here, you can call it civil war. Military people take upon the American, take upon the people that was oppressing them, the British, militarily, to liberate themselves. So that is called, these people were warriors. See, they're heroes. But what if we apply the same thing to Africa? I was I'm originally Gabonese American. I'm a Gabonese American, and recently, as you heard, in Gabon, somebody who happened to be you know uh, you know in a national guard, you know, and this is what he said. He said, "You know what? We did this because of you, the politicians, and because of you, the so-called international community. When these despots are tricking the constitution, making sure that they stay in power forever, you're not doing nothing. When you politicians are incapable of making sure that you and the people in power have a fair election, you lazy. You don't fight enough to get stuff in order. But you have to see
Okay, you froze up there.
yeah.
All right.
This is a live show, so you will expect something to happen.
Yeah.
So absolutely, yeah, it goes back and forth. May God protect us against all this, ten, yeah. So what I was saying is that this general commander, Bryce Oligingema, say at one point we're all human beings, and those folks that suffer in the neighborhoods, this is one of the most richest country in Africa, close to 2 million people, all abundance of natural resources. But honestly, the people are completely, struck poor. So when we have a situation like that, somebody step up and put down the despot. French was the first to come and say, you know what, we condemn this. And then eventually the African Union and, take also measures against Gabon. So what about the people? And can we still call this coup when we know that actually coup is those people who always, or, trick the election and stay in power? I think there's electoral coup happening all the time. So when somebody comes step up and then say, hey, listen, I know, this the military takeover is never look as a good thing, but what can we do in a helpless situation? America did it when they,
Well,
fought against the British. What you have to say about that, brother?
um, I think we need to be very careful in our assessment of all of the events that are taking place because we have a history. These are not the first coups in Africa. I think the coup in Gabon was somewhere between the 106th or the 110th coup in
No.
Africa in my
Okay.
lifetime, right? And
Yeah.
of those coups, only three in the past have actually stood on the side of the masses of our people.
Right.
That was Gamal Abdul Nasser, Muammar Gaddafi, and Thomas Sankara.
Right.
So now we see, particularly in Burkina Faso, a coup d'etat which follows the pattern and employs the language of Thomas Sankara. And that coup has a particular nature. If you look at it, and in fact, if you look at all of these coups, these people was trained by the US. They was trained in AFRICOM. They
Ironically, yeah.
learned their military strategy in European military training facilities. And like Nasser and Gaddafi and Sankara, at least in Burkina Faso and Mali, these junior officers joined the military with the intention of trying to help bring some justice to their people. Um, so we have to look at it very carefully. It is the people themselves who ousted these leaders. It was the people themselves who marched in the streets. When you see 100,000 people marching in the street against the army, telling that army, you can't stop us, shoot us if you will, but we're coming through. We're not taking this no more. This is going to end. And these young officers, seeing the courage of the masses of the people, say, we can intervene in such a way as to change this situation. We have to applaud that. We have to applaud that. But at the same time, we know that the military cannot carry us to a better life.
Right.
In order for us to get a better life, that military has to organize the masses of the people. That military has to hand power over to the masses of the people.
But Gaddafi was a military, you said.
Huh?
Gaddafi. It was a
Gaddafi was the military. Yes, he
yeah.
was. He was a colonel.
Yeah, but it did a good job in this country in terms of
Yeah, but what did
you
he
know
do? He turned power over to the masses of the people of Libya. He established the Jahamariya, which
right.
was a process of transforming the thinking of the people of Libya. He established the Mataba as a people's center for their development. And he gave the people the results of their exploration of the resources. So under Gaddafi, everybody voted. Everybody had an opportunity to say whatever they wanted to say. Everybody had a house. Everybody had education from preschool as far as they could go for free. In fact, if you was from any country in Africa and you could make your way to Libya, you could go to school for free. So we
Right.
see that this is what these new military leaders are faced with. They have to be a part of the process of organizing the people to fight for their own liberation and to maintain that liberation. Right. Otherwise, they become just like all these other um, military leaders who have come and gone over the last, 70 years.
Absolutely.
So we're hopeful. And we think that the momentum that exists to get the French out of Africa would be the impetus for these leaders to permanently align themselves with the people. Because the French are coming out of Africa. And many of us are going to look at these military leaders as being instrumental in that process. So we want them to join with us, carry this campaign on to victory, and then to work with the masses of our people to organize ourselves, not only to develop the countries that we're in, but to spread this movement across the African continent.
Absolutely.
Spread it across the African continent because the British are still in Africa.
Yeah.
The Zionists still own and control the mines in South Africa, right. In Israel. They're still stealing our gold and our diamonds and our bauxite and our iron and everything else, and our rubber, everything else. So the entirety of Africa has to now come and follow the lead that is right. being shown to us, that it is possible to get the French out of Africa, that it is possible to get AFRICOM out of Africa. We've been yelling AFRICOM out of Africa for the last several years.
Yeah.
That's been our main slogan, AFRICOM out of Africa. And you know what? It looks a lot closer to happening today than it did 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're very comfortable in saying that these are positive developments, but it's not positive because some military junior officer decided to overthrow a dictator. No, it's positive because it's the masses of the people who are leading the way, and these young junior officers decided to align themselves with the people's movement. That's right. What makes it possible. That's what makes it unstoppable. Because when the people move in their millions, I don't care how many guns you got. You
don't
care.
That's
a million
right.
people.
Absolutely. Listen, we are almost 1 hour and 23 minutes. I'm gonna let my sister talk and then conclude, and then come back to brother Rafiki to talk and then conclude, so that we can get out of here. I think we're doing perfectly great here, and this not only talking about the rally, but the education portion of it is fantastic. Sister Jackie, you still there standing with us, although
Absolutely.
usually at this time you usually are going to sleep. I apologize to your husband. And when we have our generals, we have to make a good use of them. So you can take from where brother Rafiki left, and tell us exactly what you think. You can pull it for whatever angle you want to. We just want to listen and hear from you. You go ahead and then conclude, so we can give a chance to Rafiki, brother Rafiki, to do the same as well.
Well, the struggle for human rights is a righteous struggle. And I don't care where that struggle is taking place, if it's in Palestine, if it's in the Americas, if it's here in this country, in the struggle for the indigenous, for their land back and human dignity, if it's in the West African countries that are struggling against imperialism from the French and their bosses, the United States. The struggle for human dignity and the sovereignty of nations is always a righteous fight. And the interesting thing about what is going on in West Africa is these countries, these people, our people are only struggling for what the United States and France and the European nations always claim they have. They have a right to their sovereignty, and they Whenever they feel that someone has threatened their sovereignty, then they want to they want to sanction people, then they want to send the military in. But they are colonizing or neo-colonizing their former colonies, stealing their resources, literally stealing their resources, exploiting the labor of the people, imposing crushing poverty on those same people, and then turning around and saying that those people are unable to govern themselves, are backward people, and that when the people then rise up against this oppression and this degradation, fighting for their sovereignty, now all of a sudden these people, African people, have no right to fight for their own sovereignty. But every time the people rise up against the neo-colonizers and the imperialists, they take it, the imperialists, as an attack on their sovereignty. This hypocrisy does not work on the people anymore. It is clear that the people have seen through the smokescreen of, French being the cradle of what is their slogan, liberty, fraternity, and whatever else it is, and that they claim that, yeah, that's clearly not the case for people in Niger, in Guinea-Bissau, in anywhere else, in Mali, and that's clearly not the case for Africans who are forced to leave their countries because of the exploitation and oppression, and find their way to France thinking that slogan is real, and then realize that they are despised and hated in France as well. So the fight for human dignity, human rights, and self determination that our people are engaging in, and sovereignty of their countries that our people are engaged in West Africa now. This is a righteous fight, and it is a righteous fight that we enter into and connected with all of the other righteous struggles for human rights that are going on around the world. And I agree with Rafiki. We are closer, I believe, to France getting out of Africa today than we were a few weeks ago. And these are the kinds of actions that fuel the revolutionary optimism that we need to keep fighting, because this is not going to be a one and done situation. As I said earlier, this is the French are not going to give up easily. The
Oh
United
no,
Yeah, the United States government is not going to shut AFRICOM down and get the troops out of Africa just because we demand it. This struggle is going to be protracted. It is not going to be easy, but I believe we will win. And I believe we will win because the people are making it so.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, well said. Now, brother Rafiki, I'm gonna give you a chance as well to make your statement and conclude, because as you know, we beyond the time. This is almost 1 hour and 30 minutes. Go ahead and
Uh,
go ahead and tell us
well,
what
I
you
would just
think.
like to close by saying two things. One is just a historical fact that the first country on the planet Earth to get rid of slavery, the first time oppressed, exploited, enslaved people rose up to get rid of that slavery and to run their colonizers off of their land was our brothers and sisters in Haiti in 1804. And they ran the mightiest soldier in the world, Napoleon Bonaparte,
Mm,
right out of Haiti. So they showed us a long time ago that the French can be defeated. We saw Guinea run the French out of Guinea in 1957. So we know that the French can be defeated. So we shouldn't worry that they're too big and too powerful for us to defeat them. What we need to do, and what we recommend is that all of these organizations, we have a lot of organizations, and some of them are revolutionaries. These revolutionary organizations who claim to be for Pan Africanism, claim to be for socialism, claim to be for unity, claim to be for liberation, claim to be working in the interest of the people. These organizations, wherever they are, in Africa or in the diaspora, we have got to come together. We have got to coordinate our efforts. We have to work as a collective unit because we're fighting an enemy that is also collective and coordinating its efforts. So
Absolutely.
the days when Eritreans can just sit in Eritrea and Zimbabweans can just sit in Zimbabwe and Burkinabes can just sit in Burkina Faso and isolate among themselves, those days is over.
Right.
And now it's time for those of us who claim to be fighting for the interests of our people to come together and to give some political and some military coordination. And we get ready to see, let ECOWAS go across that border. We're going to see some military coordination. And that kind of coordination, political and military coordination, joint collective action, is the kind of action that's going to bring us the results we seek. And so this is what we encourage. We want to see this movement grow. We want to see this movement encompass the whole planet. We want to see Africans throughout the world come together and rally around this call. Get the French out of Africa. Get the USA out of Africa. Get the CIA out of Africa. Get NATO and AFRICOM out of Africa. That is a beautiful, wonderful, marvelous first step in the struggle to liberate Africa and to build a better life for the masses of African people. And we think we're well on our way.
Absolutely. Wow. Listen, Sister Jackie, look, man, Brother Rafiki Maurice, what a pleasure to have you on the show. And now now you know the place to go because this
Oh,
is
that's
no.
right. You ain't gonna be able to get away from us, you know. We
Everywhere
got
you
you. We
turn up,
got you
there will
now.
be.
Remember,
Absolutely.
this is no Fox News. This is a place we come and speak truth to power. You know, there's no need to hide here. So I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart for being here. I know it's late now. But for you to stand here with me and trying to give people your perspective, it means a lot for me, for the network, and I will look forward and to have you on another time here on the network. Brother Rafiki, you are after this program, we probably would get together and to program some other events that you talk about. You don't have to worry about that. I have you jack your information jack into my down into my notebook, so you're not going nowhere.
Okay. Well,
All right, all right.
Fantastic.
I have about 12 French words that I know.
Listen,
So
this is probably the place to go ahead and say it quickly before they shut
I
you
want to
down.
say these 12 words.
Right, go ahead.
De l'unification de l'Afrique envers tous les socialismes scientifiques. Pray pour la révolution.
Absolutely. That is the good one. I think we're gonna end up right there. We'll look forward to see you. Thank God and thank you for the viewer all across the universe. I mean, the United States, Europe, and Africa. Thank you for watching. We look forward to have you again on this network to give you, I mean, the best that we can offer. Bye now.